PlayStation 5 Pro was just announced, and the reactions to it have been mixed, to put it lightly. Though the negative response to the Pro and its price is absolutely understandable, I did want to offer a different perspective on the situation, giving my views on the presentation, the console itself, and ultimately the price. To briefly state some positives, I do love that the Pro has a 2TB SSD. The larger storage is absolutely needed for many gamers, especially for Call of Duty lovers. Briefly seeing various games running at 4K 60fps was nice to see as well, though I do have some reservations and issues about what they had shown, which I will discuss in a bit. Aside from that, I think developing their own upscaler for PlayStation is a smart move. Lastly, I do like that it's releasing soon on November 7th. But not all is good. The Pro does not come with a disk drive or vertical stand, and adding those components put the Pro closer to $800. As someone who loves physical games, it's disappointing. It's also perplexing to announce the PS5 Pro when the DualSense controller was just raised in price and the base PS5 is also going up in price in various countries. It just seems like a bad time. Another negative is that they're not guaranteeing that the console will play all games at 4K 60, as Mark Cerny smartly said in the presentation that they will target 4K 60 or try to lessen the gap between the fidelity and performance modes. Then there is the focus on ray tracing. I've talked about this before, but I just don't think ray tracing matters that much most of the time, and it hammers performance. Hogwarts Legacy was good looking, but that game was running nowhere near 60 FPS. Obviously the console is not out yet, and Mark Cerny has stated the Pro uses a new advanced ray tracing feature set, so ray tracing performance could be good, but right now I'm just not that optimistic. Also, an underlying problem with PS5 is the lack of exclusives. Many PS5 exclusives have made their way to PC, and some PC versions drop the same day as the PS5 version. If there was a larger library of games that were exclusive to PS5 only, then a PS5 Pro enhancing those games would make more sense, and the PS5 gamers would see more value in that Pro console. I also had a problem with what else they showcased during the presentation. You should be showing huge, spectacular moments on screen with an FPS counter, showing that the game is running steadily at 4K with no issues and big moments. Even the ending montage was confusing to me. Rebirth was shown, and it's a pretty big open-world game, but they chose not to show any of the open-world moments, the most impressive part of the game. In fact, they did this with other games. Instead of showing something spectacular, they showed people talking to one another. You cannot expect people to be excited when you're showing these simple moments on screen. Alternatively, the best thing they could have done is compare the PS5 Pro against a high-end PC, one with maybe an RTX 4080 or 4070. And based off some research, it seems like they should have done that, as I will discuss in a moment. But let me first talk about the $700 price point and look at it from a more rational perspective. To be clear, my view here only applies to the US pricing, as the cost is out of sight in other territories. Now, this price does put the console in a tough spot, but not quite in the way you expect. Upon first seeing the price, I was shocked it was so high. I was expecting $600 to $650 to be what they were aiming towards. But the more I thought about it, the more I came to realize the price is justified, and it's probably the best value you will get on a new gaming machine that does 4K. Now, that does not mean I think anyone should buy this console, far from it, but it is the cost of gaming at 4K 60. Let's look at a game they showed during the presentation, Horizon Forbidden West. If Forbidden West on the PS5 Pro is 4K 60 with some upscaling, then the closest GPUs the Pro can be compared to is the RTX 4070 and AMD's 7800 XT. To run Forbidden West at very high settings at 4K 60 on these GPUs with some upscaling, both the RTX 4070 and 7800 XT match perfectly. On the DLSS quality setting, the 4070 is running Forbidden West right around that 60 FPS mark at 4K, and the same for the 7800 XT with FSR. Now, of course, I am making some assumptions, but for now these comparisons make sense, which begs the question, why did they not do a PC comparison in some way? It would be a good way to show the Pro's value. But moving on, the RTX 4070 at launch was $600, and now retails between $500 to $600. The 7800 XT is a little lower, often between $480 to $550. Even if the PS5 Pro is a little less powerful than those cards, the Pro pumping out graphical power anywhere near them would be incredibly impressive. However, even if this is the case, the PS5 Pro still has a big problem. The PS5 Pro literally cannot be lower than $700 because $700 is already an extraordinary value and is below what is needed to spend for 4K gaming at 60 FPS. So why is this a big problem? Because it is truly a console for very few gamers. Almost no console gamer is really gonna want to spend $700 on a console. The negative reactions to the price make complete sense. $700 is too much for a console, and an all-digital one at that. At the same time, I've seen a lot of comments saying you can build a good or better PC at that price of $700, and that's simply not true. To build a new PC with an RTX 4070 and other specs similar to the PS5 Pro, it would require a budget likely around $1,100 to $1,200. So, with all this being said, who is this console really for? Well, I would imagine it's really for those who have been waiting out to buy a PS5, as it does not make much sense as an upgrade if you already own a PlayStation 5. Similarly, if you own a PC, even a budget PC, it does not make much sense to upgrade to a PS5 Pro, because why not reinvest and upgrade parts of your PC instead? In other words, I don't really think there's a huge market for this console, even less than the PS4 Pro. Thus, the PlayStation 5 Pro is stuck between a rock and a hard place because two things are true at once. The $700 price point is way too high, especially since it's an all-digital console. Yet, at the same time, it's the best deal you are ever going to find for good 4K gaming, assuming the console delivers. I really do go back and forth because it's a price I think no one should ever pay for a console, especially the higher price in other countries. But at the same time, at least in the US, if you want 4K gaming at good performance, well, you may want to consider the Pro as an option if it really is that good. Regardless, as we get closer to the Pro's release, I will definitely want to hear more about how games actually perform on this console, especially new ones. If nothing else, this will definitely be an interesting time in gaming, to say the least. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.